Okay, so let's see if I can get through a full video without crying. I'm doing better today, so it's a possibility. There's a lot of things that I need for people to understand about my situation that I can't properly explain because, as you all know, I'm a crazy person. And I'm simply not capable of explaining why I am the way I am, why things affect me the way I do. And to some point, like, I know why I react the way I do for some things, but not for others. I know why. Sorry, I'm trying to get this more centered. My recording situation is sketchy right now. Anyways, like, I know why it's so hard for me to connect with people. It's because I was literally abandoned and neglected as a newborn. That's in my brain. The fact that the rest of my family denies the abuse makes it so much harder for me to deal with and heal from. Because how do you heal from something that people say never happened? It's difficult. So I was looking online and I found an article written by somebody else who seems to have gone through a lot of the same experiences. And so I thought maybe hearing somebody else's words would get through to some of you. So I'll just read her article. I'm going to take my face down. Record face off. Okay. Emerging from the broken, from surviving to thriving on the journey to wholeness. How Victim Mentality Works in Relation to Family Secrets by Darlene Quirinette from January 24, 2012. We are conditioned not to talk about family secrets. I was taught in so many ways that some things are not talked about, and I was so afraid of the consequences of bringing shame on my family that I ignored the solution to overcoming the mental health issues that I had. Rejection from my family when I was a little child would have meant death. I believed as an adult that it still meant death. I had to overcome that fear. Even when the family members are dead, the victims of dysfunctional family situations are very often still just as afraid to reveal the family's secrets, which is very telling about just how deep this fear goes when it comes to the belief system. People told me that they didn't have a choice about keeping the secrets, even when they became adults. I agreed with them because not taking my choice about telling enabled me to have an excuse to not have to do the work that it took to take my life back. I had to look more closely at what it meant for me to believe that I didn't have a choice. I had to see that it wasn't that I didn't have a choice as much as it was just that I didn't know I had a choice. This belief that I could not, must not tell was rooted in victim mentality, and I had to keep in mind that this victim mentality is how I survived a childhood of abuse and emotional neglect. Victim mentality was my friend when I was a kid. It saved me. It was hard to understand that victim mentality was not my friend anymore. My mind warned me constantly not to see things differently, believing with all my heart that the only way to survive this life was to operate in that same child mindset that kept me safe from further harm. Telling would have made things so much worse, and I could not accept that telling, at least someone, was part of the answer now. Victim mentality taught me to fear the consequences of honoring my choice to reveal those secrets. Victim mentality tells me that I am safer to keep the secrets and protect the perpetrator. Victim mentality taught me to protect the person who covered up for the perpetrator, believing that I am less deserving than the perpetrator, because this is what I was taught about myself through the actions of those who were in charge of me. When I first started this website, I would have a fear-related adrenaline rush when I clicked the publish button on a certain article, especially if they revealed anything about toxic and dysfunctional family relationships. That was my childhood fear of going public with my past. It was not fear for what others would then know about me, but fear of what the consequences would be if I told on the abusers and those that didn't protect me, or if I revealed the family's secrets. I didn't understand that fear-based adrenaline rush then as well as I do now. I had to reassure myself that the consequences for talking would not kill me, that I was no longer that helpless child anymore. I had to remind myself that 100 times. Another huge fear that I had was that deep down I was sure that if I could love my mother the way she needed me to love her, then everything would be fine. Telling the family secrets was like giving up on the last thread of hope, because I knew that if I told the truth about what had gone on in my life, I would burn that last bridge and ruin my only chance that my mother and possibly even my whole family would love me. Telling represented the death of that hope. I had to be willing to face the possibility of that rejection. So, hold on, I'm going to come in again, because this is so, like, triggering a little bit for me, because when I wrote my book, there was a lot of backlash. And, like, my aunt is saying that she only found out a couple of weeks ago or something when her daughter's son read my book, but she was the very first one to buy a copy. So, and it was, I believe, a lot of her lashing out at me. She's angry that some of those secrets were revealed. I knew that I was going to be rejected by everybody if I told that story. I didn't really care, because I already felt like I didn't have anybody. I already felt rejected by this family. But when I published the story, there were a lot of anxieties and fear about the repercussions that were going to come from this family that didn't even want me, trying to stop me from speaking out. And it's still 5 years later, they're coming and trying to stop me from speaking out and trying to belittle me and make me look like I'm just a liar because I'm not mentally stable, which is something that they already knew. Anyway, sorry. I had to be willing to face the possibility of that rejection. Today I see this so differently. Why was I willing to protect the people who never protected me? They taught me to believe that I didn't have enough worth to have equal value to the perpetrators, the neglectors, the abusers, the withholders, the teachers, and all the other adult gods in my childhood. I no longer care if the truth hurts someone else's feelings. When I decided to heal and move forward with my life, I had to stop taking care of other people's feelings and finally validate my feelings. When I finally put my own feelings first, I began to see the dysfunction more clearly. I finally saw that I was contributing to the sick, dysfunctional cycle by going along with it. As I took those baby steps in the beginning and started to look at the dysfunctional family conditions that I had been raised with, I started to realize that in many ways I had in fact always been rejected. Not being heard is rejection. I had not been protected is a rejection. Not being valued and not having my human rights validated is a rejection. When I began to see things through new eyes, I started to get a glimmer of hope that perhaps I could be good enough for me, and that I could achieve the status that others' opinions, including my own family's opinions, would no longer matter. I began to realize that I had been agreeing with their rejection of me because I didn't know anything else. As I grew stronger, I began to stop rejecting myself. Perhaps the truth hurts, but does that mean that we should stifle the truth? I don't think so anymore. It was important to me to look at who I was protecting and the truth about why I thought that they were more important than I was. Darlene Quiminette. Note: I did not reveal anything publicly when it came to family secrets until I had several years of healing, and I am not suggesting that you reveal your family secrets before you are ready. It would not have helped me to push myself too quickly, and very few people choose to write as publicly as I do. Please feel free to use a screen name. Only the name you use will be seen by others. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit, because all of this, because so many of my problems stem from my childhood abuse and the neglect of that abuse. My Aunt Kathy wants to talk about the 3 years that I had drug problems myself, but she doesn't want to talk about the 20 years that her sister was a drug-addicted, alcoholic woman being heavily abused on a nightly basis. It's easy for her to forget that because she wasn't there listening to it every night. And she wants me to just forget it. And I can't, because it's embedded in my brain. They spent my whole childhood trying to shut me up. That's why they wouldn't let me see the therapist at school when the school wanted me to seek help. My parents were afraid of what I would say because I had a big mouth. I was a stupid kid. Let's see what this is. Liar. Always, always, always. Everybody's always calling me a liar, and it hurts because I'm not lying. That's what it and they know that it hurts, and that's why they do it. And people tell me, well, just leave YouTube, leave the internet. If I leave the internet entirely, I'm alone. I have nobody in real life. I have no social skills. I don't know how to make friends. I'm scared of people. And I feel like genuinely everybody hates me and looks down on me and sees me as worthless and pathetic and wants me to die. That's how I think everybody sees me. I know that's how my family sees me. And how do you make friends when you're that? How do you go out and say, hey, I'm a piece of shit, worthless bitch, and I need a friend. You want to hang out? It don't work.